about natural selection and what that means and what that has to do with evolution. So we're starting our evolution unit today. So can somebody tell me, what does it mean when we say survival of the fittest? Raise your hand if you'd like to talk. What? Brady?
Survival of the fittest is like when a species is able to like adapt to its environment the best, so it lives longer than other animals
In that area.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anybody want to add on to that? Tripping on stuff over here. Sarah?
That those who are best suited for their environment or the strongest are more likely to survive and thrive.
That's really good. So did everybody hear Farrah? She said those that are more adapted to their environment are going to survive and thrive. Does anybody disagree with what we've been talking about right now?
Nope.
No? Everybody kind of agrees on that? All right, so what do you think it means when we say natural selection? What does that sound like? What do you think that means? This is just what you think. You don't have to be right here. Michaela?
The animals that like survive in the end, but like have adapted to their environment better than the other ones could have, and the other ones died out because they couldn't really adapt to their new environment.
Cool. So what Michaela said was those that aren't as adapted die out. Now, when we say die out, are we saying like all of them at once are dying out, or are we saying just like over generations it's not really hanging around?
Yeah, generation.
Over generations. Good, good, good. And listen. Mouths closed, eyes on me, please. I know some of you have your backs to me, but turn around, look at me. All right, so for this first part, you have a beak, a stomach, a cup, and a food source. So your cup is your stomach. You're going to use your beak, whether it's the clothespin, the fork, the tweezers, or the binder clip, and you are going to pick up one piece of food at a time and put it in your stomach. And I'm going to set a timer for a minute, and you're going to have a minute to try and get as many as you can, and then you're going to swap food sources, okay? So make sure everybody in your group has their one cup and they have their one beak, and they know which food source they're going after. So
I'll go for my phone.
go ahead, do your resource partitioning. You're going to see how many you can get with that beak, okay?
Timer done.
Wait, it's
Don't worry, it's all finished.
How's it going, guys? Easy, difficult?
Easy.
Easy?
Easy.
A little difficult for you, Harrison? Good.
My beak ate all the food.
Your beak ate all the food. Fabulous.
every time I drop it, it goes.
How's it going, guys? That's awesome. No, I'm glad you got them off. Easy, hard. What are you doing, Joel? Did your beak break? Or you can't figure out how to use it? Uh-oh. Bad adaptation. How's it going, guys?
It's good.
Good?
I'm struggling.
All right. So you know what we're doing after this, right? You're going to...
Switching beaks.
You're what? You're
Switching
going
beaks.
to... Not switch beaks. We're going to switch food sources. Okay. Have you gotten any in yet?
Yeah.
3. Nice. You got all of yours, Troy? Yeah.
Not you.
Stop.
I got 28. But you got what?
Macaroni for the tweezers. I got 18.
You got 18. That's cool.
For the
I got 28 for the fork and the beans. Pinto beans? Yeah.
All right, so are y'all recording your data
Yes, right now.
right now?
Yeah.
Get on it.
You got it? Not yet?
Still babies.
So what beak did you have?
I had the binder clip.
You had the binder clip and the toothpicks?
Yeah.
Any more you able to get anything?
Yeah, 17.
17? That's cool. All right. How are we doing, guys? We getting our data?
Good? Yep.
Good. All right, make sure you're recording it. So what you should be doing right now, you should be swapping food sources. Make sure you're swapping food sources. We have questions over here?
no,
Of course not. No?
Is it one at a time though?
All right. You ready?
Yep.
Go ahead, set that timer. Go.
I think this is a fair game. This is life. Nothing's fair in life.
All right.
Can we use our beaks in a different way if we can't fight it, so we can
You
adapt?
can use your beaks in a different way. You can use your adaptation any way you want. You getting it, David? Making it work?
Look at this. I'm gonna use the beak like this.
You use the beak like that? Does that work
It's like
better?
plucking my eyebrows right here.
Is that better or worse than the beak you had before?
10 times better.
10 times better?
I can actually grab it.
This, for me, it felt the same way, but I still
Tell
felt
me I
the
don't have
other one
to
was
like
easier.
comparison.
The other one was
Tell me
easier.
I don't
Yeah,
have to
because it was thinner.
So how did you change your adaptation, Azumi?
Well, if you're supposed to use it like this, I used it the opposite way because it's much easier to grab. It's
easier to grab that
food
way?
Supplies, yeah.
Nice. All right, how are you doing? Hey, it's supposed to be one at a time there.
I don't get how I'm supposed to get them.
Do you not know how a binder clip works?
Supposed to hold on this, right?
Oh, right. So we finished part 1 of the activity, right? Everybody finished? Okay. So somebody raise your hand and tell me, and I need to hear from the majority of the class. We've got 3 questions. The 3 questions you answered at the end. I want you to tell me, we're gonna have a quick discussion about what we've picked up from this part of the activity, okay? So what did you notice about your feeding abilities? Raise your hand if you'd like to tell me. Cassie?
With like the different beaks, like you were able to grab more depending on like what the food source was. So like it was harder for the like binder clip to grab the beans because like they're smaller, and like you had to try to find a new technique to put the beans in to get them in the cup.
Okay, really cool. Does anybody want to add on to that? What did you notice about your feeding abilities? Anybody else? Was one food source easier or harder? One was easier, one was harder? Okay. Which one was your easiest food source? Raise your hand if you'd like to tell me. Farrah?
For me, like I was the tweezers, and so it was the toothpicks. Because like tweezers are really small and thin, and so are the toothpicks. So like picking them up is a lot easier than using any of the other bulkier things.
Yeah, that was more difficult. Okay. Anybody want to add on to that? All right, so let's move on to number 2. What would happen if there was a drought and all of the rubber bands died off? What would happen to the bird population? So raise your hand if you would like to answer this. What was that, Farrah?
It depends what beak you have.
It depends what beak you have. So did anybody have a beak where it was really easy to get the rubber bands? Raise your hand if you had a beak where it was really easy to get the rubber bands. Gabby, Cassie, Layla. Good. Okay, so raise your hand if it was really difficult for you to get the rubber bands. So Farrah and Laura and Joelle. Okay, so we had a difficult time getting the rubber bands there. So for those of you that it was easy to get the rubber bands, would that be your main food source?
Yes.
Yeah. So what would happen if all of the rubber bands died off?
They would die off, the birds.
The birds would die off. Do you think they would die off, or do you think they would try and find other resources? Try and find other resources. Maybe, so when we were doing the activity, Azumi changed the way her beak was working. She used a new adaptation for what she had. Now, do you think that other birds, maybe if their food source dies off, do you think they would try and do something similar to what Azumi did? Azumi?
I think yes, and I also think it would use their type of beaks over the time that
Okay.
they have.
So do you think maybe nature would select for a certain type of beak? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so last question after this part. So what did you notice about your behavior and the behavior of others? Farrah?
Because we like each had our own food source, like there was no competition between us, like nobody was trying to grab the other person's food.
That's really important. So there was no competition. And then again, like we talked about, Azumi.
They also weren't stressing on whether they were able to get it or not, or the other people were stressing because they weren't adapted to the source.
Their beak wasn't adapted to the source. Good. Does anybody from any other group want to add on to that? All right, so if you didn't answer during this portion, I'm going to need you to make sure you're going to answer something during part 2, okay? Part part 2, what we're going to do, we are going to take all of our food resources and you're going to put them all together in one pile in the middle of your group, okay? All together, one pile in the middle of your group. All right, so then what do you think we're going to do now that everything's in one pile? David?
We're gonna fight over it.
You're going to fight over it. All right, so Shelby, set your timer for another minute. You're going to try and get as many of each type of food as you can. Maybe you go for one special type that you know works. Maybe you go for some of everything. Whatever works, you're going to try and get as much food as you can in 1 minute. All right, are we ready?
Yes.
All right, ready? Go. How are we doing, guys? Is this easier or harder than last time? Harder? What?
I evolved.
You evolved.
Look at that,
Is that
evolved.
what's supposed to happen, David?
Yeah, I grow bones both thumbs.
Oh my gosh. All right, how are we doing, group? Easier? You swap, Joel?
Yeah.
All right, is this beak easier? A little bit. How are you doing, Kaya? You good? Gabby, you good? All right. How are you doing, guys? Stop! All right, so time's up. Go ahead. Count how many you have of each resource and record it on your data table. Mark on your data table. Tell me how much you have of each and share that with your group.
I got a lot of those on
I got 10 for the toothpicks with the fork.
You got 10 for the toothpicks?
Yeah.
How'd you do, Laura?
It's hard to like get it with this because you can't do it sideways, like you can't like do it like this.
And they were
because the table's like
they're
flat.
competing against me.
And they were competing against
She
you.
was like killing everyone.
Yeah, she was gonna get faster than all of us.
That's crazy.
I got like 20 macaroni.
So,
I got 12 toothpicks.
what happened over here with Mr.
You see,
Evolving?
there was a huge crisis in the animal. I evolved.
You evolved. All right, so for the rest of you that did not evolve as readily as David over here, how did that affect your food source?
Yes.
You had to go way faster,
A
right?
lot faster.
So did that seem fair?
No. Actually, because I didn't get any of one food source.
You didn't get any of one food source? No. All right, so let me ask you this. Is nature fair?
No.
No.
Nor is David.
Nor is David.
I already knew that already.
You knew that already? All right, how are we doing, guys? Getting your data? Yep. All right, so we just finished part 2. Before I get into any of these questions, did anybody notice anything that was different about this part of the activity than before?
Yeah, because we didn't have like the same like food source. It was like all crumbled up, so like you kind of had to fight for whatever was easier for you to get.
Brady, did you want to add on to what they were saying? You looked a little hesitant right there.
I was I didn't have anything to say.
You didn't have anything to add? Okay, Kaya, did you want to add something?
Oh no.
No? Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and move on to number 1. So what was your strategy for this? Cassie.
Well, since we had in like a pile and they were all going for it, and I was trying to get there too, I kind of like knocked their beaks out of my way, and I took whatever I could grab.
I mean, whatever works, right? David, you want to?
I didn't wait for the other species to evolve. I just kind of like took a leap.
You took a leap?
Yeah, I kind of just like.
You went at it. So what was your adaptation here? What was your strategy?
It was really annoying.
It was really annoying.
As a bird, I'll be very mad.
I learned how to grab food easier by getting a hand. For
A
the
hand?
mouth.
Okay, so a hand instead of a beak.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Azumi, what do you want to add?
The strategy I used was like the sources that were closer to me, I would grab those, and then people that were fighting for the other.
So you were just getting what was in your area. That's really good. Group back here, Nico, Kaya, did y'all have a specific strategy or you were just trying to survive?
Oh no. Just trying to survive.
You were just getting what you could get. Was there any like actual competition in your group or was it more just everybody trying to get what they could get?
Me and Gabby.
You and Gabby? Okay, cool. And then back here, did y'all have any strategies or you were just kind of doing your own thing?
Just going for it.
Just going for it? Was there any like aggressive competition like some of these other groups had?
No.
No, not really. Y'all are peaceful, coexisting? Okay, good. Alright, so move on to question 2. Was there another beak type that was competing for the same food source as you? If so, who?
Like actually all of them, because they were just trying to grab whatever they could to like survive.
So everybody,
So, yeah.
so did anybody have a specific food source you were going for versus what was close to you? Layla, did you?
I tried actually going to the macaroni.
Just going for macaroni, okay. And then was anyone else doing that in your group?
I was.
You were too? And so were you able, other than David and his adaptation, were y'all able to share that resource? Was there enough?
She got more than I did.
She got more than you did. And so did you have to rely on another food source?
Yeah, the beans.
The beans? Okay. Cool. And then Laura, did you want to add?
Yeah, I went for the beans because it's easier to grab them.
You went for the beans because it was easier to grab. Was anybody else going for the beans in your group?
Cassie.
Cassie was too. Cassie was going for everything. Okay. Back group. Like y'all said, y'all were just kind of doing what you could get. Anybody went for a specific food source?
Oh, Troy went for all rubber bands.
Yeah.
Troy did all rubber bands. He knew that was the easiest.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so question 3. Which beak collected the most food? Cassie did? The fork? All right, and then David over here.
David's evolution.
David's evolution. So, David, why did you decide to evolve? What was your beak type
So I
start?
couldn't pick up anything with my beak, right? So like, then I had a youngling and he had a hand coming out of his mouth. And I'm like, yo, go pick up some beans. And when he came back to the beans, he came up like twice as many as I did.
Twice as
And
many
I'm
as
like,
you did.
Go back, and then he got way.
Okay, I like that you're putting this into a story. That's really interesting. So, which beak collected the least food? The binder clip. So that's what you started with, David, right? The binder clip. So, do you think in nature, if there was a trait that a group of birds had, and that made it really difficult for them to get food, do you think they would try, maybe not consciously adapt, but do you think they would try and change their behaviors so they could get more food? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we can assume that the birds that collected the most food will survive and reproduce, and the birds that collected the least amount of food will die. What will the next generation of birds look like? So are we going to have any binder clips in the next generation?
No,
maybe
not.
For us.
Maybe.
Very few.
Azumi says definitely not. Well, Layla says yes because binder clip had his major evolution mutation over here. But for my other groups, would your binder clip have survived?
Not really.
Not really. Which one would have been the most successful? The fork.
The fork.
Why was the fork most successful? What behavior was it doing?
I mean,
It scoops versus trying to what?
to like go up and
To
grab.
stab or to
Yeah.
grab?
It would be easy if these would cook, so the beef gets fatted more.
Oh, so if we had a modification to the food source, that would have made it easier. If it was softer food? Okay, interesting. All right, so moving on to question 4. What would happen if all the bird types we have been working with flew to an island where no birds had been before, and the only food type available was toothpicks? All right, what do you think would happen if the only food source was toothpicks and they'd never been there before? Layla?
I think that the clothespins would die off because it would be actually harder to pick it up.
Okay.
And for me, it was easy to pick it up with the tweezers.
With the tweezers, okay. Anybody else want to add on to that?
They
Cassie?
would probably have to relocate because that's only one food source and it's like more birds. Like we only have 4 beaks here, but like in reality there's a lot more birds. So like they wouldn't be able to all have that food because that food would not just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming.
That's true. Really good answer there. Okay, so which bird beak type would be the most successful? As a group, what do you think the most successful bird beak type would be in that situation? Fork? Before the evolution?
It would have been me.
Which one did you have?
I had the tweezers.
The tweezers. So fork and tweezers kind of tied. Back groups, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes? Why do you agree with that? Did you have the same kind of answers? Yeah. Okay. And then, which would be the least successful? We kind of went over that
The
already.
binder clip, because it's like really big, and like if you didn't have, if they didn't like discover a new technique to like scoop it like that, they probably wouldn't survive.
Awesome. Well, great job, guys. So your homework for tonight, I have a reading for you and a graphic organizer. So I'm gonna have those ready for you on your way out. Make sure you read and complete your graphic organizer for homework. And when I see you next week, we're gonna go over the graphic organizer. Make sure you got the right information. Okay.